It's Tuesday the 18th of October. I'm James Luckhurst and today is the second day of the 2022 Project Edward Week of Action. Our first road trip report today comes from the city centre of Oxford, where Oxford City Council and local road safety partners are promoting their Vision Zero road safety strategy.
So welcome to sunny Oxford, and today it's day 2 of the road trip, and we're delighted to be the guests of the City Council here, who are going to showcase to us some of the best practice that's going on in road safety. And in particular, the theme of today is about safer vehicles. So we're hoping many of the partners we have today are going to demonstrate some of the activities that they are taking from the police. We've got the Fire and Rescue Service, and we've got a number of other associations, in particular the British Horse Society and the Cycling Organisation. So we look forward to bringing this programme to you.
So I'm Alison Hill. I'm chair of Cyclox, which is the cycle campaign group for Oxford. So we are a campaign group that's going to have our 20th anniversary next year. Came about because of concern that the voice of cycling hadn't been heard well enough. And that although Oxford has a very high cycling rate, it seems to be despite all the infrastructure in the city rather than because of. So, because we don't have, even now, really good cycling routes, segregated cycling routes, for instance. One of the things that shocked the cycling community and the wider community is that over the last 2 years, we have had 4 deaths of young women on their bikes. We're also campaigning for segregated cycle routes because that is the way to ensure safety of many, many cyclists. And I think we're pushing against an open door, but Oxford's a medieval city and with pretty narrow streets, so that's going to be difficult in a lot of places. And so the other part of our campaign is also trying to reduce the amount of traffic that there is in the city. So, because that is making our roads safer by reducing the number of cars and number of heavy goods vehicles on our roads.
Andy Ford, I'm a station manager with Oxfordshire Fire and Rescue Service County Council Road Safety Team. I think that the ideal solution to all of this with multiple road users is segregation, makes it safer. You know, cyclists, I'll say, if the cycle lanes are there, use them, keep yourself separated from the big metal boxes that drive around on 4 wheels. But inevitably there's going to be areas where we have to share the space. And our message today, and as it is always, is we need to share that road. We need to respect the other road users, understand the vulnerability of cyclists and pedestrians. But just be alert and be aware. But as we know, most collisions are down to driver error. So every driver, every road user has a responsibility for their safety and the safety of other people on the roads.
Okay, so I'm Robin Tucker. I'm the chair of the Oxfordshire Cycling Network, which is a federation of cycling groups and individuals across the county. Yeah, so we campaign for better conditions for cyclists and encouraging more people to cycle. And in that we work with the council and other organisations to try to make that happen.
Where we've had unfortunate fatalities, often it's centred around a left turn via a vehicle. Something of this nature, what is it that can be done to try and prevent that from happening?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I think there are issues around road design on that, and there's also issues about driver and cyclists' positioning and behaviour. So I think it's really important for drivers, a lot of these are involved in heavy goods vehicles. It's really important for drivers to be aware when they're turning left, particularly that a cyclist might be there. And for cyclists, it's really important to know that the left-hand side of heavy goods vehicles is a really dangerous place to be. And either make sure you're well ahead so that you can be seen, you're not in that blind spot, or stay behind when you're not sure you can get in front.
Hello, I'm Claire Benson. I'm the Specialist Units Manager from Hampshire and Thames Valley Joint Operations Road Policing. The Safe Drive Stay Alive focuses on younger drivers or people that are coming up to their driving tests. and we reach out to different schools and colleges around, and we invite them to come and see our performances that take place in November.
If there was one thing that you could share with that national audience of what you're doing here, what would it be? What would your one wish be that others around the country would adopt or do more of?
Yeah, I think I would want all local authorities via police to actually deliver and make sure that they deliver to a younger age group and ensure that they target so that they can prepare their young people for the roads, especially as roads are getting busier, we all know that, and just to make them feel confident and make sure that they're getting the right tool set to cope with driving.
I'm Colin Patterson. I work for Drive Tech. We're a wholly owned subsidiary of the Automobile Association, the AA, and our predominant focus is on the driver training, driver risk management. But we've had a few vehicles come onto our own fleet, and because of the nature of our business, we're more interested in the vehicle handover. We're more interested in the educational side. And I have to tell you, some of the handovers are shocking. So I understand what's happening. A typical dealership is selling a vehicle, they're very delighted about it and they're very pleased with the revenue. But the care and courtesy and information handover in terms of knowledge about the vehicle, how to handle it safely, I'm afraid to say isn't very well conveyed. And that, we argue, is unbelievably critical. So you've asked a very salient point. It's unbelievably important to make sure that people do know how to get the best out of the vehicle. It's not explained brilliantly.
Well, I can't believe it. We've just come to the end of a tremendous day here in Oxford. The support has been unbelievable from all partners. We've seen Cyclops from the cycling campaign down here. We've seen Blood Bike down here in particular that gave us a very good insight into what's required behind that operation. We saw ROSPA talk about the importance of training as well. And I'm pleased to say as well, we had some of our partners down here from the private sector, and it was lovely to see our friends from Bosch and from Drive Tech. So that's a wrap here from Oxford, and we look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow down at the Met Police in London.
That was Darren Lindsay in Oxford. Now, like Oxford, most regional road safety stakeholders now have or are developing local Vision Zero road safety strategies. At their core is an approach called the SAFE system, which envisions a transport system free from death and serious injury. Our partners at Transport Scotland have created a series of short videos to explain the SAFE system and why this approach forms the bedrock for their road safety strategy. The SAFE system comprises 5 themes. Each day we're looking at one of those themes in more detail. Today we're going to take a look at safe vehicles. Vehicles are designed and regulated to minimise the occurrence and consequences of collisions to road users. This applies not only to vehicle occupants but also to pedestrians, cyclists, horse riders and motorcyclists. Making vehicles safer involves both active safety measures, such as autonomous emergency braking, which can prevent collisions occurring in the first place, and passive safety measures, such as seatbelts and airbags, which protect occupants and other road users if a collision does occur. It's also vital to ensure vehicle roadworthiness is regulated to the highest standards. Here's Transport Scotland's video explaining safe vehicles.
Safe vehicles. Part of the SAFE system. In Scotland, our road safety framework is underpinned by the SAFE system. At the centre of the SAFE system are people. The Safe Vehicles pillar aims to reduce the risk of collisions, and if one part of the system fails, the others will still protect. There are active and passive safety measures within vehicles to help reduce the severity should a collision occur. Active measures may include autonomous emergency braking and intelligent speed assistance technology, which can prevent collisions occurring in the first place. Passive measures include seatbelts and airbags, which are designed to protect occupants should they be involved in a collision. Through the development of future vehicle technologies, our transport system must embrace change to allow connected and autonomous vehicles to safely interact with smart road infrastructure, removing the risk of human error. As Scotland embraces new trends and technology in vehicles, it's important that we continue to maintain our vehicles to the necessary standards. Preparing for a journey and considering the weather conditions are also essential. Getting to a perfect solution won't be completely smooth, as new risks will emerge during the transition. For example, how will automated vehicles operate alongside older vehicles, other road users such as motorcyclists, cyclists and pedestrians? While the transport industry makes this transition, maintaining our own vehicles and embracing new technologies will have a positive impact on the reduction in casualties. We all have a part to play in making this happen. Together, making Scotland's roads safer.
Thank you to our partners at Transport Scotland for that informative video. Now, Stuart Lovett brought the Project Edward road trip car to an event in Telford yesterday, organised by West Mercia Police, Shropshire Fire and Rescue and Telford and Leyland Council. Based for the day at Southwater, Stuart caught up with participants from across the spectrum of road safety and transport. With fantastic support again this year from West Mercia's Police and Crime Commissioner, John Campion. There was an opportunity to chat to representatives of Midlands Air Ambulance, finding out specifically about their involvement supporting the Biker Down initiative. Stuart heard all about Morse, Making Our Roads Safer for Everyone, an innovative Safer Roads initiative created by a partnership between YSS Youth Support Services, West Mercia Police, Hereford and Worcester Fire and Rescue Service, Shropshire Fire and Rescue Service, and Warwickshire and West Mercia Community Rehabilitation Company. He talked to members of the local IAM Road Smart group who were on hand to promote opportunities for people to improve their driving and riding skills. Inspector Gavin Williams from West Mercia Police spoke to Stuart about his team's priority of protecting people from harm on the roads and the importance of partnership working to achieve the best results. Dan Quinn, Shropshire's Assistant Chief Fire Officer, told Stuart about specific initiatives and partnership engagement, while transport and engineering team members from Telford and Leyland Council were on hand to talk about all aspects of community road safety. Massive thanks from the Project Edward team for the support given by everyone in Telford to ensure a successful day of road safety engagement and a great opener for our 2022 Week of Action. Now, let's take a moment to expand on the safe vehicles theme. We've got a video that explains just how beneficial these active safety systems can be. Autonomous emergency braking, or AEB, is probably the most important development in car safety since the seatbelt and could save an incredible 1,100 lives and more than 120,000 casualties in the UK over the next decade. It's a safety technology that monitors the road ahead and will automatically brake the car if the driver fails to respond to a collision threat. Think of it as an extra pair of eyes on the road and an extra foot over the brake pedal, ready to act if you're distracted. In this way, rather than protect the driver using the seatbelt and airbag in a crash, AEB can avoid the crash completely. This video from Thatcham Research looks at the rigorous scientific approach that goes into testing AEB systems so that they can continue to save lives.
In 2017, there were almost 1,800 people killed on UK roads. But there's technology being fitted to cars now that could make that crash a thing of the past. It's called AEB, Autonomous Emergency Braking, and it's fitted to many cars. It uses a radar and a camera to sense a collision's going to occur, warn the driver to brake, and if the driver doesn't brake, automatically put the brakes on to avoid the crash. It's an integral part of the Euro NCAP 5-star rating. In fact, if you haven't got AEB, you don't get 5 stars. And the test is done on a test track. Now, we can't use cardboard boxes or even a real car for safety reasons. This target's been specifically designed to replicate a real car. It's soft, so it can be hit, but it's got the right visual characteristics like a back window and a license plate. It's also got the right radar characteristics for the radar, because you want the car to stop when it has to and not stop if it doesn't need to. There are 500 pedestrians killed on UK roads every year. That's 10 a week. But AEB can stop that too. AEB for pedestrians uses the very same sensors, namely a radar and a camera. And Euro NCAP test both adults and children, and they also test in darkness to make sure that the systems are as robust as they possibly can be. The dummies we use in pedestrian testing are just as complex as the car target. They have to be as human-like as possible, and they also have to move. They have to have moving legs and arms. You don't want your car to stop for a piece of paper blowing across the road, and so a cardboard cutout just won't work. We're all being encouraged to cycle more to keep fit, but with that comes 100 or so cyclists killed every year on UK roads. But AEB can help prevent those accidents occurring. AEB is fitted to almost all brands of vehicle. It works for traffic, it works for pedestrians, and it works for cyclists. In fact, AEB is already reducing crashes by about 38%. So when you're in the market for a new car, make sure it's fitted with autonomous emergency braking. It'll save lives.
Safe vehicles doesn't just mean fancy new technology. Of course, it means keeping vehicles in a safe and roadworthy condition. These two brand new animations were launched by Warrington Council and their local road safety stakeholders just last month and provide a valuable resource for drivers on how to check their vehicles.
We all know it's important to make sure our vehicle is ready to drive before making a journey, but it can be difficult to remember everything that you need to check. An easy way to remember this is by thinking of the word powder. P stands for power. Do you have enough fuel or electric charge for your journey? Make sure you have plenty before long journeys, or you could find yourself stranded on a busy road or motorway. O stands for oil. Check your oil level using the car's dipstick, or your engine may seize up and break down. Remember to do this when the engine is cold and on a flat road to get an accurate reading. W is for water. Keep your windscreen wash topped up and make sure you don't just use water, as this doesn't clean your screen effectively. You should also check the level of engine coolant, and it's a good idea to keep a sealed bottle of water in your vehicle for emergencies. D. Damage. Check there isn't any damage to your vehicle's lights, mirrors or wheels, and look for any chips or cracks in your windscreen that could spread. E is for electrics. Test your lights and wipers to make sure they are working properly. R stands for rubber. Have a look at your wiper blades in case they are damaged, and check all of your tyres' treads and pressures. We have another video all about tyres to help you check them. These checks don't take long, but they can save you a whole lot of time and money. So, next time you drive, think powder. How do you know if your tyres are safe and legal? Tyres might be more important than you think, as they are the only part of your vehicle that is in contact with the road. If your tyre tread depth is below the legal limit, you could receive 3 penalty points and a fine of up to £2,500 per tyre. Therefore, you need to make sure you check your tyre tread depth and tyre pressures regularly. The minimum legal tread for cars and vans in the UK is 1.6 millimetres in the middle 3/4 of the tyre, but it's recommended that you change your tyres when they are less than 3 millimetres. You can easily check this by doing the 20p test or using a tyre tread depth gauge. To do the 20p test, place a 20p piece in the main tread grooves of your tyre. If you can see any of the outer border, your tyres may be illegal and unsafe and need to be checked by a professional. Tyres naturally lose a little bit of air every month, so checking you have the correct tyre pressure monthly will make sure your vehicle handles safely, improve fuel economy, and help tyres last longer. You also need to adjust the pressure if you are carrying any extra load. If you don't have a pressure gauge at home, you can check your tyres at a petrol station using the air pump. Most pumps have two different ways of displaying the pressure, either PSI or bar. To find out what pressures your tyre should be, you can check in the vehicle handbook, online, or you can find them on the driver door frame. Checking your tyres are safe and legal is so easy, anybody can do it. So what are you waiting for?
Now back to the road trip, and we have Neil Dewson-Smith in Rugby visiting an older drivers engagement event at Dobby's Garden Centre.
The Project Edward are here, but it is essentially the Warwickshire Road Safety Partnerships event that we joined today.
Yeah, well, Warwickshire County Council are really proud to work in partnership through the Warwickshire Road Safety Partnership and with partners such as Project Edward to put road safety at the top of our agenda and to make sure that our roads are as safe as possible for all users at all times. And really important to focus on mature drivers and how we can keep them in their cars, acting and driving safely as long as they can.
And the event here today really demonstrates how important partnerships is. Have you anything to say around the partnerships that you're forming within the county?
Well, it's really important, but Warwickshire County Council can't do everything on its own. It's really important to work together with the police, with the fire and rescue. We've got a great partnership with IAM Road Smart to do safety checks and provide objective, independent advice to older, mature drivers.
The Project Edward theme for 2022 is changing minds and changing behaviour. Have you any tips or advice or can tell us about any work that's going on in Warwickshire about people who might be wanting to do some of this for themselves?
Yeah, so working with mature drivers is really important with an ageing population, particularly in Warwickshire, where we have a particularly ageing population. Working on with that cohort is really important. So we've done a number of things, webinars with older mature drivers and their friends and family to teach them about changes in the highway code, and also this partnership with IAM Road Smart, where we provide that independent, confidential review, working with mature drivers to review their practices and see how they can improve and make sure they stay safe on the road for as long as possible.
The Warwickshire Road Safety Partnership is a combination of a number of partners, many of which are here today. And we are focusing this week on Project Edward and all matters road safety. Sadly, over the 3 years before the pandemic, we averaged 365 fatalities and casualties on our roads. And we are determined to reduce that figure, and we've now set a target of 50% reduction by the year 2030, which is challenging, I know. And beyond that, we'd want to go down to zero, but we need to take it in a series of steps. It's a very important subject amongst the residents of Warwickshire, and the board, which was reconstituted, the Warwickshire Safety Partnership, is now up and running, doing some very good work. There's money being funding it properly, and I think we're getting the message across to our residents and road users that safety on our roads is very important. Well, here in Warwickshire, we always participate in any national campaign. So on speed tomorrow, we will be having many of our speed watch teams out in the local communities on local roads, ensuring that the road users go at a safer speed and stick to the speed limits. And our roads policing team will also be out carrying out checks of vehicles and interviewing and also making the roads much safer by intervening when necessary.
Thanks to Neil Dewson-Smith. Don't forget, if you see one of the Project Edward cars during the week or visit one of the events, take a photo and post it on your social media channels using the hashtag Project Edward. We'll be giving away a brand new Nextbase dashcam at the end of the week for the best picture we receive. We'll be back to Neil later in the show for today's social media roundup. Now, Project Edward wouldn't be possible without the support of our valued partners and sponsors. As well as providing a number of dash cams for you to win during the week, Nextbase has equipped each of the Project Edward road trip cars with state-of-the-art front and rear-facing high-definition dash cams. Here's what Project Edward means to them.
Hi, I'm Bryn Brooker, Head of Road Safety at Nextbase Dashcams. At Nextbase, we're really proud to be supporting Project Edward again this year and doing our bit to improve road safety. As a UK company at the forefront of change in the development of dashcams, it's really exciting to see change. On a daily basis, we see how video footage is used in incidents to prove who was at fault and improve road safety. The Project Edward theme this year of changing minds, changing behaviour is perfect for the changes we're seeing on the roads right now. As more people use dashcams, we're seeing a change in society where people are sharing video footage to the National Dashcam Safety Project. This reports dangerous drivers and allows them to be removed from the UK's roads, making it safer for us all and seeing a change in society. We look forward to seeing you at Project Edward events as we all push forward towards Vision Zero.
I'm Neil Worth, Chief Executive of GEM Motoring Assist, the road safety and breakdown organisation. Together with the GEM Road Safety Charity, we were the founding sponsors of Project Edward in 2016, and we've proudly supported the initiative each year since then. As we celebrate our 90th anniversary, we're pleased to have been involved with a number of high-profile road safety initiatives, none more so than Project Edward. Project Edward offers us a unique opportunity to come together and really make a difference to help keep everyone safe on the roads. This year's theme of changing minds and changing behaviour mirrors our own ethos of encouraging members to drive with care, courtesy and concentration, something we've been doing for the last 90 years.
And a big thank you to GEM Motoring Assist, whose Chief Executive Neil Worth you've just seen there. GEM also presented a webinar discussion for older drivers this afternoon, hosted by Valerie Singleton OBE, with a number of expert panellists. There's a recording of that available to watch again on the Project Edward website. Now, back to the road trip. Unfortunately, all too often there's a serious crash and the emergency services are called out. The fire service has the job of working with paramedics to extricate safely and quickly any casualties who've been trapped inside crashed vehicles. Stuart went to a Lancashire fire station for a demonstration.
So here we are, Project Edward, in Lancashire Fire and Rescue Service, compound at Leyland Fire Station, where we're going to be undertaking an extraction event, and the intention for today is we'll go through it in stages so that you'll be able to see what the process is once you arrive on scene, what the process is that they will take to determine how they're going to extract any potential casualties from this car here.
Okay, so we're now discussing in conjunction with NWAS the best route to remove the casualty. So we have two plans, plan A and plan B. Plan B would be straightforward, we need to get them out time critical. Plan A will give us a little bit more of an option in terms of time to assess the casualties' injuries, again working together with NWAS to make sure that our actions don't impede on what we need to administer.
So what you notice at this point now, we've got paramedics inside the vehicle as well. So they're doing an assessment of the patient, and also if they're conscious, to be reassuring them as to all the noise and sounds that are going to be going around them. They'll also be updating our controls to let us know what we've got, how many patients we've got, and whether we need any additional resources on scene. So they work really closely with the fire to put that plan together, and we quite often practice this, rehearse this with the fire service, so that the crews in the vehicle know exactly what to expect when it comes to cutting the glass and cutting the doors. Perfect world, we'll be looking at the patient could get out. If they couldn't, they'll be putting a plan together now and explaining to that patient they're going to remove the door or they're going to remove the roof.
Okay, so this is the road traffic collision equipment that we would use to cut various vehicles up and extricate casualties from those vehicles. So over here we've got stabilisation equipment, which we'll use to make sure that the car is nice and sturdy, because we're thinking about casualty care as well. Basic toolkit, and we've got a glass management kit that we can manage glass with. We've got a hooligan tool here, so we can use this on windscreens to cut the laminated glass and that. It came out on a long board, but the board isn't designed ergonomically for his spine. That's why it's been transferred onto what we call a scoop, which the ambulance service carry. Yeah, and our final phase then is just our clean up, servicing the kit, making sure it's ready for the next incident, and then welfare of our crews.
So you see now the patient getting moved into the back of the ambulance, and I think sometimes you may wonder why the ambulance doesn't drive away straight away. So when they get into the back of the ambulance, they're going to be reassessing the patient, kind of fix any problems that they might be having at that time, and then they will be off to the hospital. The other thing to add as well is that sometimes they might not go to the nearest hospital, so people often wonder why that the case is. So we have major trauma centres across the UK, and they're the ones that are going to be able to deal with this patient better than or more appropriately than some of the local hospitals.
So as the crews are now, have obviously handed the patient over to the ambulance service, who will now take care of the patient. The crews now look at the scene. They will have a look and make sure they get all their equipment away, look at the vehicle, look at the potential spillage of any fluids, any fuels or anything that might have damaged the road surface. They'll work in conjunction then with the police. They'll describe exactly what they did if the police wasn't on scene when they started cutting and removing items from the vehicle. And they'll also work with Highways Agency just to make sure that anything around the immediate area is remedied and made safe before that road can be reopened following the recovery of the vehicle. This is a very sterile environment and not usually the environment that we look at when we actually turn out for it for real, but it's a brilliant practice environment.
Okay, thanks very much, Mick, and thanks for your support. So Project Edward would particularly like to thank the members of Lancashire Fire and Rescue Service and also the North West Ambulance Service, who you've seen today have been reenacting a potential scene of a road traffic collision, and also how that they plan and prepare so that should the unfortunate and the unexpected happen, they have the policies and procedures and the practice put in place to get people out of those vehicles and into trauma care as quickly as possible. We thank them for everything that they do for us in keeping our roads safe and helping us to reduce the number of people who are killed or seriously injured as a result of road traffic collisions.
That was Stuart Lovett in Lancashire. Each day this week, we're looking at a different safety initiative from our platinum sponsor, National Highways. Today, we're looking at the red X signs displayed to advise drivers of lane closures on motorways. Jamie Hassall is the National Compliance Coordinator for National Highways and talked us through the details.
So originally, we were using ANPR, catching drivers going through, sending them some letters, and then we developed the technology that allows us to automatically enforce. Over the last 2 years, that's been rolled out, and the police are now enforcing that. So all of the police forces with HADAX cameras are now enforcing red X. So, you know, drivers really need to know that if they see a red X, it's there for a reason, and if they go through it, they run the risk of getting caught and prosecuted.
Should motorway users expect red X's as part of everyday driving rather than just perhaps the rarity they once were?
They should do. They're used for multiple reasons, and we often get complaints that, well, I saw a red X but there was nothing in that lane. Well, sometimes we're doing a road repair, so rather than putting miles of cones out, we'll do a temporary repair, but we don't want anyone driving in that while it's curing and stuff, so they might not see anything, or we've cleared the incident, we've got to check it's clear before we can reopen the lanes, because we've got to make sure no one else is broken down further down the road or anything like that. So sometimes it does take us a little time to clear the signals, because we have to check that there's no one else stopped in that lane, you know, further down from the original incident.
Just talk me through a red X use, a red X deployment kind of thing from a control room. How do they get turned on and for what reasons, and how long would they likely stay on?
So we've got a new system on some of the roads that's called stop vehicle detection. So if that alarm goes off, the operators check if there is a stranded vehicle in a lane. They will set those signals to protect that vehicle, enable our traffic officers to come out and help get that vehicle to a place of safety, and then they'll reopen the road as soon as they can. But the more sort of drivers that use those closed lanes means that our traffic officers or the police or the emergency services can't get through to clear up the incident to reopen the road.
So what contribution do Red X systems make to safer roads and safer strategic road network?
So they keep us all safe. We don't want to slow traffic down. We want to keep traffic moving. So I would say, you got to obey a Red X, and you might not always see what's going on, but we're using it for a really good reason, and it will keep you safe. If you ever break down in a lane and you need to be protected by Red X, you want to make sure that everyone else knows that they shouldn't be using that lane.
Thanks to Jamie Hassall for that information. Yesterday we saw how strong the social media coverage has been so far for this year's Project Edward campaign. Here's Neil Dewson-Smith's social media update for day 2.
Thank you, James, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Social Media Roundup for Project Edward Day 2. Very short update today because, as you'll see, I'm in a vehicle, which means I'm actually out and about on the road as well today, covering the road trip in Rugby and moving on to Cardiff for tomorrow for Day 3. But the really important news for social media today is that through our supporters and everybody that's out there supporting Project Edward, sharing our messages and creating their own, we're now at 25 million impressions on Twitter alone, which is a fantastic result for Day 2. So thank you, everybody, and do please keep that momentum going so that we can build upon our message and get our information out there. 2 tweets that I'd like to mention today, as we did yesterday, only 2 today instead of 3. First one is from Tom Price. I'll read it, a little part of it. It says, "During my long commute to work, I observed and reflected on the actions of other road users, and it's safe to say the minority put the majority at risk." I particularly liked this message because it reinforces the fact that most of us are careful, competent and safe drivers, and it's the minority that are often causing the problems, and that's the hard to reach part of the driving road user community that we need to get to. So it really reinforced a difficult message for us that those are the people we need to reach. The second one is from a traffic officer for National Highways, well known on Twitter circles, called Dave Harford, and he reminded us something that's really important today because we're focusing on the safe vehicles pillar of the safe system, and Dave reminded us of the mnemonic FLOWER. And if you've not heard that before, the FLOWER is fuel, lights, oil, water, electrics and rubber. So it's just reminding you of all those things that you need to check pretty much on a daily basis if you're going out on the road, but we so often just don't. Good reminder from Dave. There's also the week-long competition of photographing the best photograph of a Project Edward vehicle. I'm sat in one of the Project Edward cars now, but if you see one of the cars at an event or out and about, if it's safe, take a photograph, share it with us on the platforms, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and the best photograph will win a Nextbase dashcam. But that's all for today. It's been a fantastic day on social media for us, and we're looking forward to keep that momentum going throughout Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. So speak to you tomorrow. Thank you, James.
Each day, Simon Turner is looking at how the National Highways Driving for Better Business campaign is collaborating with road safety partnerships around the country to help them engage local businesses and raise awareness of the need to manage road risk for those who drive for work. In part 2, Simon describes how Driving for Better Business has collaborated with the Kent and Medway Casualty Reduction Partnership to engage local businesses.
Having introduced Driving for Better Business in part 1, let's look at how we're helping road safety partnerships to engage local businesses. Last month, we launched the pilot for a new regional programme working with the Kent and Medway Casualty Reduction Partnership to deliver tools, information and resources tailored specifically to help local businesses with staff who drive for work. The partners in this project include Kent County Council, which leads on the project from an organisational perspective. Medway Council supports to ensure that this important business area is covered. Kent Fire and Rescue Service distributes resource packs to local businesses during commercial premises inspections. Kent Police distribute postcards to drivers at roadside compliance events, which can also be shared with their employers. And finally, National Highways are there to support the compliance events and the partnership more generally. So let's have a look at the resources that we've created for them to use. First, there's a regional landing page on the Driving for Better Business website. This contains all the partnership logos, a tailored introduction, statements of support from key stakeholders, details of local enforcement activity aimed at commercial vehicle safety, easy access for businesses to local road and travel alerts, as well as links to other key local resources. We then created a local business engagement pack that contains a guide for how local firms can use the Driving for Better Business programme, a physical copy of our award-winning van driver toolkit, and a book on how to ensure you're running a safe and compliant fleet. We've produced 1,000 of these packs for Kent Fire and Rescue Service to distribute to local businesses, including when they're carrying out safety inspections on local commercial premises. We'll look at these resources in more detail in episode 3. Next, we created a double-sided postcard for the police to distribute to commercial vehicle drivers at roadside compliance stops. One side outlines the driver's responsibilities. However, it can often be the case that the employer was partly responsible for the offence. The driver could be speeding due to an unrealistic work schedule. They might have worn tyres because the company hadn't replaced them when asked, or the van might be overweight because someone other than the driver loaded it that morning. The back of the postcard therefore has information that the driver can pass on to their employer. All of these resources promote the Kent and Medway Driving for Better Business webpage, where local businesses can register to access more free resources. And finally, there is an admin page on the website so that the partnership can check which local businesses have signed up. In the next video, we're going to look at the business engagement resource packs in more detail.
That was Simon Turner, and that's the end of the programme and our second day of the 2022 Week of Action. Thank you to everyone who helped with today's events, our partners, and to you for watching. Don't forget to follow our social media channels. We're on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram and YouTube. Like and share our messages if you can, and post your own road safety messages adding the hashtag Project Edward. Also, check out the Project Edward podcast, Are We There Yet?, which you can access on the Project Edward website or wherever you normally get your podcasts. And remember that National Safe Speed Day starts at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning with a 24-hour period of concerted speed enforcement by police across the country. I hope you can join us again tomorrow evening for an update on that and the rest of the road trip as our intrepid road trip crews visit Cardiff, Preston and London. See you tomorrow.